Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This will be my full Marvel Secret Invasion Episode 4 video. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, couple big twists confirming some of our theories, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, I'm doing videos for all the episodes, be sure to subscribe to get them. We're also doing a giveaway for Disney Plus memberships. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and just post all your theories for the last two episodes, how they'll finally pay this off. Careful for spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode yet, we'll just start at the beginning, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs and WTF moments, mostly R.I.P. Talos and confirming Skrull Rhodey. Most people in the comments want to call him Scrody, but technically it's a female Skrull, so you can think of that any way you want. But starting with the episode title, Beloved, a reference to Nick Fury's wife and her favorite poem, Late Fragment by Raymond Carver, which they use as a metaphor in the episode across the timeline, like in the flashbacks and in present day, for how she's found happiness loving Nick Fury and being Nick Fury's beloved. The whole idea that she understands that Nick Fury did love her this whole time, and he also admits to that later, like, even if I could do it again, like, even if I had a time travel device like the Avengers in Endgame and could actually travel back in time and do this all again, I would do things the same way and still be with this woman. This is also probably going to be the shortest episode by far. Without the credits, it was about 30 minutes long, which is closer to the run of like WandaVision or She-Hulk episodes, which had much longer episode runs but shorter actual episodes. The reason why Marvel does that is just because of overall budget. Like, they try to spend about $150 million per series, so they had to break that $150 million into either 6 longer episodes or 9 shorter episodes. That is the only reason why you don't have like 9 episodes or 10 episodes or 13 episodes that are all like 45 minutes long, like a typical HBO show. The first time that's probably going to change will be Daredevil Born Again, because there are 18 episodes that they've already greenlit for that. They'll be shooting, it'll be all of season 1. There's no way they can do 18 episodes, even if they're shorter, for $150 million. They had to spend way more money on that. The actual opening scene, though, just picks up right at the end of last week's episode with Gaia dead on the ground after being shot by Gravik, confirming my theory that they would just open up with the scene of her healing the damage with the new Extremis Super Skrull abilities, then flashing back to explain how she gave herself Super Skrull abilities. Even if you didn't predict how this was going to go down, I feel like they telegraphed it because she's in all this trailer footage that hasn't appeared in episodes yet, meaning that she'd be in episode 5 and episode 6, so we knew that she was still alive somehow. I'll explain why, too, because they have a conversation later in Talos' death at the end of the episode I think is meant to catalyze her, and she's eventually going to take Talos' place as Nick Fury's right-hand person, like the Abigail Brand of the MCU. The actual intro's pretty quick, like they tell you what happened to Gaia, how she gave herself powers as she was escaping pretty quickly, then jump to the regular opening credits. They aren't any different. Then they flash back again to tell you more Nick Fury backstory in Paris during 2012, right after the events of the first Avengers movie, meeting with his wife. They reference the events of the Avengers movie in the Battle of New York in the paper. And one of the big surprises here is that apparently he didn't tell his wife about the Avengers at all, even as a concept, before he put them together. Remember, he'd started creating the idea for the Avengers, like the document, back in 1995, right after the events of the Captain Marvel movie, before he met her. So during their entire relationship, like 17 years later, never once had he told her anything about the Avengers, which is a good example of how deeply he keeps secrets, even from his wife. Just how compartmentalized his life is. Like, they made him seem that way during Captain America Winter Soldier, all the other Avengers movies, like, the last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye, got taken out by Goose the Flurkin. Meaning he no longer trusts anyone. But the funny thing that's going on with this is that he's keeping his wife and the Skrulls in general secret from the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. on one side, but also now keeping the Avengers themselves secret from all the Skrulls and his wife. But it's generally meant to be a happy meeting, like they're having a celebratory dinner, just meeting together, chilling out after the events of the Avengers. Like, okay, the world has been saved, we can just have dinner together and be a couple for a little while. They set up the whole bit with the Raymond Carver poem, Late Fragment, about her wanting to be beloved on Earth, the whole idea of their relationship, like a metaphor for their entire relationship. You could also say all the Earth references in that poem are also a callback to the Secret Invasion plot with the Skrulls looking for a home on Earth. I think eventually they also want to use the poem as a metaphor for Nick Fury and Talos' relationship too, and it's the same vibe with them as well, like they're both happier having been friends, obviously now in memoriam to Talos. They'd referenced that in previous episodes too, where Talos basically told him outright, "You're much better off having known us the Skrulls, look at what we did for you," proving that a lot of Nick Fury's successes over the years, all the things he accomplished, were done so on the backs of the Skrulls. When Nick Fury says he's more of a history guy, that's a reference to Captain America in World War II, and also a reference to comic book Nick Fury's history being part of the actual Howling Commandos himself in fighting with Captain America during actual World War II. This time she is wearing her ring on her ring finger, meaning that they've long since been married. They didn't say exactly when they got married, but sometime after 1997. Then they jump forward to present day with her meeting Skrull Rhodey in the church, paying off the conversation they had on the phone from last week's episode. She'd been trying to contact Gravik, but this Skrull, pretending to be Rhodey, is the one managing all that conversation. She knows this is a Skrull pretending to be Rhodey, but they make a bunch of jokes about firing Nick Fury and a bunch of wrestling jokes as well, going full Undertaker on him from the top rope, proving that this Skrull is a big wrestling fan.
I DDT'd that dude from the top rope. Yeah, it was like Undertaker level. Really impressive.
They made jokes about this during the Thor movies, with the Asgardians on Earth becoming fans of Earth culture like Thor becomes fans of video games. So apparently this Skrull just became a fan of wrestling. They also make it sound like President Ritson is an idiot. When she talks about what Gravik needs or wants her to do now, they make it sound like she's been working with Gravik for a while. They've referenced that in previous episodes too. I think that started back up after the 5-year time jump, like after Avengers Infinity War in the snap, she started working with the Skrulls again. The big surprise, though, was when they did pull the guns on each other, but refusing to shoot each other. I'll explain that in a second, too. They revealed that Nick Fury low-jacked her so that he could listen in on their conversation, although she sounds like she kind of knew it was happening because she was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent for a long time, secretly as a Skrull, but still a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent for Nick Fury going out on missions, so she'd be just as smart as, say, like Black Widow or any of the other people that had those skills. But the idea is that she loves Nick Fury and she wasn't going to kill him, so she just let him do that. So even during their conversation, she knew that Nick Fury knew what she had just been doing with Skrull Rhodey. There are a couple of funny Nick Fury reactions, though, while he's listening in on their conversation. Like, he seems completely unperturbed, like, yep, this is definitely Skrull Rhodey, like he suspected him because in their previous conversation, he called him Nick, and nobody calls him Nick. So at least for the past couple of episodes, it sounds like Nick Fury has known that he was a Skrull. The only thing that gets a reaction out of him is that funny moment where his wife is like, you don't need to kill him, he's an old man, he's so feeble he'll die on his own, he'll probably even die pretty soon. Like he's a little pissed at people thinking that he's a potentially weak old man. Like, I'm not old, I'm not weak. Skrull Rhodey clearly doesn't take the bait and basically says that he's going to kill Priscilla or Vara, however you want to think about her, if she doesn't kill Nick Fury, and he's also going to kill Nick Fury either way. Like, either you kill him or I'll kill you and kill him. So if you weren't on the fence about Rhodey being a Skrull, I feel like their conversation during this moment here is meant to confirm that. They do have the shower moment later in the episode, like very spicy shower moment, revealing that it is a Skrull turning into Rhodey, but I feel like that was just for the really thick people that weren't watching very closely. Most of us felt like Rhodey was probably a Skrull several episodes ago. Gravik sets out to kill the president, making the United States think that it's the Russians, but he also doesn't realize that Gaia is a super Skrull like him now, so he thinks that she's dead and gone, so that'll be a big surprise for him later in episode 5. Speaking of which, we then jump to Emilia Clarke's Gaia, who has this look on her face when she's meeting with Talos, like she's super pissed off at Gravik and just kind of shaken based on what's happened. Like she didn't totally understand how the Super Skrull powers would work, but she had an idea. But the idea is that she's fully on Team Talos and Nick Fury now, on the condition that they finally figure out what to do with the rest of the Skrulls. Like, you finally need to find us a place to live, be it Earth or be it somewhere else. A lot of people think that they should just go to Thanos' garden planet, which is a surprise that they wouldn't just go there because the Avengers didn't destroy that. Like, even all the time travel they executed didn't change the fact that that was a garden planet. My assumption right now is that they don't just take them right there, or they didn't take them right there because some other species took it over. When Talos apologizes for forcing her into this, quote-unquote, he's talking about inducting her into Nick Fury's covert Skrull team, thinking that that's what ultimately led to her siding with Gravik all the time that she spent working in these undercover operations. Based on her age, I'd say that she was working for Nick Fury before the events of Captain America, Winter Soldier, and the demise of S.H.I.E.L.D., so she'd been going out on missions for him, doing stuff like this for a long time. But just based on the plans Marvel is making for Phase 5 and Phase 6 and where things are going in the story for the Skrulls, it seems pretty obvious that they're gonna stay on Earth, like those million Skrulls. Most of them will stay on Earth. And even though Marvel Phase 5 is kind of like the dark reign era of Marvel, like things will get worse before they get better, obviously. Thunderbolt Ross is going to become the next US president by Captain America 4. The idea is that slowly, over years, the Earth will just slowly grow to accept the Skrulls the same way that they're accepting Thor and the Asgardians. Like, how could they accept the Asgardians, a bunch of aliens living on Earth, but not the Skrulls? The main reason for that is because the Asgardians have been living on Earth for several years now since the snap, and also in their natural form, they look just like humans, so like they don't look that different, so most people around the Earth aren't xenophobic of them. Also, they saw Thor being a hero through all the Avengers movies saving planet Earth, so they've seen the benefit of having Asgardians on Earth and they're very accepting of them in that way. Talos is trying to tell Gaia that he's trying to do the same thing for them. Like, we need to save the US president, like his whole bid is to save the president and prove to the rest of the planet that some of them are good and they can enrich the Earth with their culture and their technology. The problem, though, is that in their natural form, they look green. They look very not human. So I think right now, like before things spin up into dark reign of Marvel Phase 5, the Earth is probably 50-50. Like half the Earth would be okay with the Skrulls eventually, and then the other half wants to kill them at first sight. Not in my backyard, Skrulls. Marvel's also been doing a lot of viral marketing for Secret Invasion, just having Skrulls walk through the background of regular news broadcasts and theme parks, just doing like regular stuff that you would see out in present day. I think ultimately that's where things are headed at the end of Secret Invasion. Like, the world will learn the truth of the Skrulls, like the million Skrulls living on Earth, and you just start seeing Skrulls popping up all over the place through future Marvel movies. Nobody special, just like totally normal Skrulls living their normal lives. But part of the idea is that Talos sacrificed his life. The president will learn that, and he will tell the world about, like, this Skrull died to save my life. The Skrulls can be good people. Ultimately paying off Talos' speech with his daughter. But when he also talks about showing the people of Earth their hearts, like we need to show them who we are, I think that Gaia will ultimately be the person to pay that off. Emilia Clarke's character by the end of the series, using her father's death as motivation. Talking more about the consequences of this, though, like how do we get to President Thunderbolt Ross? I think the idea is that he survives this, the president survives this, but either there's a re-election in the next year or two and he loses the re-election, or his injuries are so bad that he has to leave office, the vice president has to take over, and then eventually the vice president loses a re-election and Thunderbolt Ross winds up winning. On the platform of safety and security, like they'll trade on the fear from Secret Invasion, like look how close the Skrulls came to taking over our planet. There are a million of them everywhere. Be afraid. They could be anywhere. And it's sort of Thunderbolt Ross pulling a Thanos-like moment where he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. Only this time it's on planet Earth in the United States. Paving the way for him to give himself Red Hulk powers, allowing Val to take over the Weapons Plus program, create the Sentry, do all kinds of crazy stuff throughout Marvel Phase 5 into Marvel Phase 6. Then Fury's wife goes back to their house, and he tells her basically the same thing that she told him back in 2012 during the flashback, that he's loved her and happy that they've been together all these years, like I said earlier in the video. She explains the full backstory of why she chose Priscilla's face and her identity back in the 90s. The woman she got the identity and the face from was named Dr. Priscilla Davis, who died of a congenital heart defect. Vara worked at the hospital Priscilla was in and got to know her that way because she was on a secret mission for the Skrulls to try and find a way to work against Nick Fury, to have something against him if they needed it. She was going to find someone's face, someone's identity that she could pretend to be, that Nick Fury would fall in love with, and they would use that against him should they ever need to. Before the real Priscilla died, though, Vara told her the truth about the Skrulls and asked her permission to use her identity on the condition that she be buried at sea, that she would continue to keep up appearances for Priscilla's parents so they wouldn't learn the real Priscilla died, and that she would never hurt Nick Fury. So even though the Skrulls were playing a long game against Nick Fury back in the 90s, you remember she'd already started her relationship with Nick Fury and then chose Priscilla's face. That's why when they met each other in the 90s, he was like, oh, where did you get this face from? But it already seemed like they had been together for a little while. But in present day, it's basically her telling Nick Fury that she was not going to follow through with Gravik and Rhodey's orders to kill him, meaning now Rhodey and Gravik want her dead as well. But in the later trailer footage from future episodes, we see her fighting with Gaia's character, so we knew that she was going to be on Team Nick Fury anyway. That if you were confused why they still both picked up their guns and both shot at each other at the same time, that's just because both are meant to be wary, untrusting people. Like, it's kind of a joke about how Nick Fury doesn't trust anyone, even though he does admit to loving his wife. There's just a little bit inside each of them that isn't sure that each other person is secretly one of Gravik's Skrulls pretending to be that person. The reason why they purposefully miss and then laugh at each other at their reaction is because Nick Fury, for example, still wouldn't be able to kill his wife if she were trying to kill him. That's how much he loves her. And when she says, "Don't worry about me, I can take care of myself," that's just a callback to her being a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, even though she was kind of a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent on the DL. We get that red-hot, spicy shower scene revealing that it's Skrull Rhodey, but the Skrull pretending to be him is a female. It doesn't really matter, like Skrulls do have gender, there are female and male Skrulls, but they can pretend to be whatever organic life form they want to, it doesn't matter. Back in earlier episodes, Talos pretended to be a woman. For all the regular Skrulls that aren't super Skrulls, I think the limitation on their shape-shifting ability is sort of a conservation of mass idea, like they can make themselves bigger or shorter, but they have to have the same amount of mass relatively. So if they made themselves way bigger, they'd be way weaker. But when it comes to the Super Skrulls, all bets are off, just because they all have those special powers. Nick Fury surprises Skrull Rhodey, saying that his favorite booze is Pappy Van Winkle's bourbon, I believe. I think it's bourbon. The nanotech joke is a reference to him being War Machine in all the Iron Man Stark Tech armor. Wondering if we're ever going to see a version of Rhodey during this series in the War Machine armor. A lot of people also asking what's going on with the real Rhodey because we know that he's going to be in the Iron Man Armor Wars movie during Marvel Phase 6, but it'll be the real Rhodey by that time. We'll probably get answers about what Gravik did with the real Rhodey by the end of this series. They'd have to be keeping him alive somewhere secretly. Right now, I think the best theory about when it became Skrull Rhodey, like when the Skrull took his place, is back when he was injured during Captain America Civil War in the hospital. But the whole idea here is it's all just meant to be a play to get him to drink the bourbon, which has the liquid tracker in it. So he knows Rhodey is a Skrull and pretty much says that to his face. But Rhodey says that they'll reveal the footage of him killing Maria Hill, even though it's Gravik pretending to be Nick Fury. Nobody would believe Nick Fury that it's not really him. During the president's convoy, when he makes the Lenin quote about stopping when you find steel, that's also another reference to Rhodey being War Machine, as the president here should stop before he gets into the car because bad things are going to happen, like he's taunting the president, knowing that they're about to try and kill him shortly. They also make it seem like Skrull Rhodey drank the rest of that entire bottle of bourbon, like the Skrulls have really high tolerance, but the smell still lingers, so he reeks of bourbon. Gravik Skrulls attacked the convoy. The reason why they all speak in Russian on the comms is so that the Secret Service will pick up their transmissions in Russian and see their Russian uniforms, thinking that it really is the Russians attacking them, trying to set off World War III. Notice during the attack, Skrull Rhodey just sitting there totally unperturbed in the car, like, alright, let's get on with this, kill the president, move on to the next thing. Gravik uses his Super Skrull abilities. This time it's the Groot powers to reach out and grab and crush some Secret Service agents. Remember, every time they become Super Skrulls, they get all the abilities that they already have. The only one we haven't seen so far is them using Obsidian's hand. Maybe they'll get that in episode 5, and it seems like they can just graft on extra powers ad nauseum, so there's no limit to the amount of powers they can give each other. So both Gravik, some of the other Skrulls, Emilia Clarke's character, have a couple of powers they can get even more in the future. Part of the reference, though, is that even though they're using all these different MCU characters, all of the different powers are meant to represent the original comic book powers of the Super Skrull, which were based on the Fantastic Four's powers. The reason why they have to use the workaround here, why they can't just be legit Fantastic Four powers, is because they haven't actually introduced the MCU version of the team yet. We'll probably find out who's actually going to play those MCU Fantastic Four characters pretty soon, though, but they have the writer's strike, they have the actor strike that might happen this week, so there's just like a bunch of stuff that Hollywood is waiting for before they make a bunch of big announcements. Talos gets hit and reverts to his Skrull form, helping to save the president while Nick Fury tries to fight off Gravik in sight of the Secret Service, so they see him trying to save the president. Hopefully Talos was correct when he was telling his daughter that his play would work. Saving the president's life would help win them asylum on Earth. He just didn't expect to die in the process. Gravik then kills him. I think they want to make it pretty obvious that he kills him. Nick Fury then tries to kill him, shooting him a couple times, learning about his Super Skrull abilities in the Extremis healing. So RIP Talos, press F to pay respects for him. Nick Fury is forced to leave him behind in order to finish saving the president. What they'll probably do is that next week in episode 5, they'll begin immediately after this in the aftermath with Nick Fury at the hospital with the president and then meeting with Talos' daughter Gaia, Emilia Clarke's character, to figure out what they're going to do next and for her to mourn her father. Like I said though, Talos dying I think is meant to pave the way for Emilia Clarke's character to take his place as Nick Fury's right-hand person running the Saber space station like Abigail Brand does in the comics. I don't think she's supposed to be in the Marvels movie, though. We'll see about that, but I do think they do have a lot of plans for her in the future, the same way that they want to bring back Kit Harington's Black Knight character to make more Game of Thrones references. Game of Thrones actors showing up in the Marvel Universe. Speaking of which, Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke just had a reunion at a convention recently, talking a lot about their time on Game of Thrones, talking about their Marvel characters, even though they haven't met on screen as Marvel characters yet. Right now, my expectation for Kit Harington's Black Knight coming back, originally I think it was supposed to be the Blade movie, but then they completely changed what was going to be happening in that movie and the time period it was going to take place in, and I think they'll bring him back either during Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty or Avengers 6 Secret Wars. After that, all bets are off, but they can do a ton of stuff with his character. It was a pretty quick episode, but if there are any Easter eggs or references that you spotted that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. My episode 5 trailer video will post Thursday. My full episode 5 video will post next week after they release it. There was a bunch of stuff that also just happened the last couple of days. There was a brand new Deadpool 3 video of Wolverine versus Deadpool. I'll try to do a video for that in the next couple of days really soon. There was a new Blue Beetle trailer video, so I'll do a video for that. And James Gunn also just announced what a couple of his new Justice League characters would be in Superman Legacy. So more videos for all that stuff posting in the next couple of days. Even though Marvel isn't doing a big Comic-Con panel in Hall H, like there's not a whole lot of Hall H stuff going on this year at Comic-Con from DC, from Marvel, even from Sony Marvel stuff like the Spider-Man related stuff. I think the idea is that everybody's dropping a bunch of trailers just outside of Comic-Con, so we'll still get a bunch of really big stuff the next couple of weeks. Click here for that brand new Deadpool 3 video, and click here for my Secret Invasion Episode 5 video. I'll update the links as soon as I post both of those. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.